Hello, so I am here with the lovely Rachel, and
Good morning.
it's very much early morning for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually not as late morning for me now. It's now 6 a.m. By the way, please do not adjust your sets, people. I really am this pale. I've been up since I was 4,
And
and I have my industrial sized coffee here to do
so why are you up at such a god and earthly hour?
it. Some necessity, some choice. So I'm a mama to 2 incredible little boys who challenge and inspire me daily. But I also work full time and for myself. And so I find, because I have them all the time, because I've had them all the time now for over 3 years or so, I just find that if I don't get up and do the things that I really, really, really need to do for me, I'm not the mama I want to be. Do you know? I'm not the person I want to be. I don't feel like I'm acting in alignment with my values. And so what I do is by the time my kids go to bed, to be fair, like my kids go to bed about 8:30, they're 8 and 10. They go to bed about 8:30 and 9 o'clock. By the time they've gone to bed, I'm done. And really all I'm going to do is sit and watch TV, do you know, and maybe crash for a little bit. And there's so much I want to achieve in my life, and I'm so driven and so inspired with my project and the work that I do. I kind of just crash into bed. And then what that does is that I naturally wake up at 4:30, 4:45. And it means then I get that time for an uninterrupted coffee with my friends. I get the chance to do things like this. I've done some yoga this morning. I've done some journaling, have a gratitude practice, all those kinds of things. And I get to set my intentions for the day and decide what I'm going to do, because as soon as the kids get up, I mean, particularly now, right? So for anybody who might be watching this in a few weeks, we've just gone into lockdown. And my children are normally at school, which would allow me to work maybe a little bit more. I would do had that moment. So it just gives me that, it's like a buffer. Let's call it an insurance policy to make sure that I am who I want to be. Do you know?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
So
also I get a load of stuff done. I wake up. And it also means that I used to do it anyway, even before lockdown, to be fair. So this isn't a new practice for me. I used to do this anyway because it meant that I could go and pick my kids up at 3. My work day would stop at 3 most days. I mean, they had a couple of after school clubs, but generally my work day would stop at 3, and it meant that I could still work but still be there for my kids. And that's really important to me, especially with, you know, being on my own with them. I'm everything for them. So that's really important.
yeah, and having those really strict boundaries about when you're going to work, is it?
Bit blurred at the moment.
Well, it's all a bit chaotic at the moment, isn't it? Mum's panicking everywhere. So I know you're very much on intention and meditation. I was going to say medication. No,
Yeah.
meditation.
Let's just say there was medication before meditation. Before meditation, there was medication, but no more.
How is that all working out with you now? Especially in the current situation, is it helping to have those practices set?
I'm very, very grateful. So a little bit about my background, without going into huge amounts of detail, is that I spent 10 years of my life trapped in my head with anxiety and fear and post-traumatic stress disorder, following being in a very challenging situation for a very, very long time. I was constantly looking for threat, and that kind of the effect that has on your nervous system when you're constantly looking for that. You just live in a state of fear at all times. And it was the sudden loss of both my brother and then my dad, only 3 days after me going to ask him for help to escape the situation, that kind of plunged me into a complete life collapse, if you like. Now we must be talking 6, 7 years ago now. And it was that thing that pushed me over the edge, where I literally reached a moment where it was either I was going to go down and completely lose myself and lose my mind, or I needed to start kicking. Do you know? And at the time I had 2 very young children. They were 1 and 3, nearly 2 and 4. And it prompted me to get out of the situation. Now, at the time, you know, there's a lot of ways that people can deal with fear. And there's a lot of ways that people can deal with stress. You know, people can turn to alcohol, they can numb it with food, they can turn the TV on, they can shop, they can shut down, all of the things. And I remember coming across this app called Headspace, which you may or may not have heard of. It's the meditation app. And I started it. And I remember in the beginning of it, it kind of said, do you know, that there's you can choose to do this practice, but you'll find it more effective if you can picture in your mind the people that will benefit the most, because your meditation practice is not just going to affect you, it's going to affect everybody around you. So hold a picture in your mind before you start any of these exercises of who it is that you want to help the most. And all I could see was my children, and all I could think about was that I wanted to be the best mum that I could be, because trust me, I was highly reactive. When your system is like that, like you are highly reactive, you know, and when you're reactive and you're living in fear, what happens is anger comes in quite a lot, because anger is a natural defense mechanism that we use to cover up fear. It helps us feel powerful, it helps us feel in control, it helps us feel justified for how we're behaving, and it's a natural protection to protect us from the vulnerability and the fear that's underneath. All I knew was that I didn't like who I was, I didn't like who I'd become, and I knew I wasn't coping. So I started my meditation practice, and it was just the very, very beginning of a very, very strong practice that now it started with a couple of little steps. You know, I'd started going to yoga, which I just knew that when I went to yoga, I came out of there and I just knew that I felt normal. And it didn't last very long, but there was these little snippets of moments and space that I was bringing into my life that started to make like all these amazing penny drops to come in, and these buffers that we're talking about now. Now I have a very strong meditation practice. I meditate every day. I have a gratitude practice. I've done my yoga. My mat is out. My yoga at 4:30 this morning. But all of these things were just the very beginning of what transpired to be a completely transformational life experience. And it shifted not only my personal life, but it also then affected how I showed up and how I then did my work, do you know, and it completely impacted everything, do you know?
Yeah, it's amazing. I really wish they would teach meditation in school to kids as well, because it's such a powerful practice, and it's like anyone can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I was chatting to one of my like I think some people get scared of it, because I think a lot of people have tried it. A lot of people sit down and they have a candle, or they try and watch their breathing, or they try the app or whatever. And the problem is, within a minute, like, they give up, because they go, yeah, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Because their mind is going. This is the what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a disease of our culture. Overthinking, too much distraction, too much entertainment. Do you know? There's too much. There's too much. We're being bombarded everywhere. We have the news, we have the TV, we have screens, we have things like, we have work, we're like the hardest working nation probably that we've ever been. And it's too much. And our brain is constantly trying to compute. And when I speak to my clients and they say, yeah, no, I've tried meditation, I couldn't do it, I couldn't stop my thoughts, I'm like, well, the fact that you can't do it tells you that you need to do it. Do you need to do it? And it's called a meditation practice for a reason. Like, you don't wake up and can play the piano. You start with like doing 2 or 3 fingers and scales, and you know, it takes practice,
Yeah.
you know, to build it up. But one of the things that you can do, and I think this is really, really useful, is you don't have to be all and sit there on a cushion and stare at a candle for an hour or whatever. There's loads and loads of ways that you can bring this into your life without doing any of that will still create little buffers. You know, like, so if you bring in an idea of something that you do on a regular basis, like making yourself a cup of coffee, or going for a wee, or making yourself some food, when you're doing something like that regularly, or, you know, even brushing your teeth twice a day, if you just pick those moments and decide that when you're doing those activities, all you are going to do are those activities, and you are going to focus on the sensations and the smells and the reflection on the water, or smelling the tea bag if you're making a cup of tea, you know, stirring it. It's really just about, all meditation is being present. That's all it is. I mean, like, meditation, I think we make it up to be this thing, and we think, I can't stop my thoughts. No, you can't stop your thoughts. Meditation is not about stopping your thoughts. That will never happen. Your thoughts, and the more you meditate, and the more you understand that your thoughts are like a dripping tap. They will never stop. Never. Ever, 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 ever. Trust me, I've tried, right? But they don't. But what the meditation does, or the mindfulness, or whatever it is that you want to call it, does, is it allows you to become an observer. It allows you to go, oh, I'm thinking again, and bring yourself back to the breath. You know, I use a really great technique called noting, or labeling, and a lot of great meditation practices do it. And really, it just kind of, it lets you off the hook, because you know when you're meditating and then you find you're doing your shopping list in your head and you go, oh no, I've done it again. Oh, I'm no good at this. And you start berating yourself because you're like, yeah, I know I'm rubbish at this. I can't meditate, right? Labeling lets you off the hook. Noting lets you off the hook. What it does is you sit there and you're trying to count your breaths, because you have to give your conscious mind something to anchor on and to focus on for the penny drop stuff to happen. So you focus your mind on something specific and focus in the present moment. But the minute you catch yourself thinking, you go, oh, I'm thinking about that. So with me, it's always work. Oh, I'm thinking about work again. And then bring yourself back. But I have no life. I literally have no life whatsoever. Hands up, who has no life? I mean, especially at the moment. Though, to be fair, I do feel like I've been on lockdown for the last 6 years anyway. So I feel like I've got this going on, do you know? But by labeling and noting what it is that you're thinking about, it does two things. First of all, you just go, oh, there's no judgment. And you just release the thought and you go, oh, I'm thinking about that again. And bring it back to the present moment, which removes the judgment and beating yourself up, because we have enough of that, mums, right? But secondly, what it does is you start to notice there's a common theme. Your overthinking is quite often about the same thing.
Yeah.
And that brings that into your conscious awareness and allows you to just watch what's happening. And the more you meditate, the more you'll become an observer to your life, an observer to your children, which is the biggest gift, an observer to your own reactions, an observer to how you handle things. And in the beginning, it's just quite often you're like, oh no, I buggered up again. And it's a hindsight thing, do you know? Where you go, oh yeah, I noticed that I did that. But the more you meditate and the more you notice with the hindsight, the more then you'll start to be able to bring yourself into the present moment and notice that you're feeling that thing again and you're about to go, and you can stop and go, thank you for the fear. Thank you for the anger. I know you're trying to keep me safe. But right now I choose to come from a place of love. And you come out of your head, consciously choose your emotion. And then you choose to come from a place of love, which is what all of my work with music and children is all about. Sorry, I tend to talk a lot.
Put the coffee down.
It's mainly because I don't speak to an adult for weeks and weeks and weeks. No.
Yes, this introvert life suited me quite nicely. You know, when the whole lockdown thing, I was just like, what, something different? This is my life anyway, so.
Listen, I'm an extrovert, and I just get my energy from talking with other people and seeing other people. And you know, it's been a long winter anyway. It's been raining for the last 3 months and we've been on lockdown. I felt like we had a week of sun and I was like, oh, that's it. You know, we're seeing people in the park and stuff again. And then it's like, we're back.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully not too long though. So tell me more about journaling. What do you do with your journaling?
So journaling is a really, it's a wonderful way of being able to see your thoughts on paper for two reasons. First of all, quite often we're so often in our head that we are not noticing what's going on. It's autopilot. You know, for those of you who don't know me, I am also I'm an NLP practitioner and a hypnotherapist and a timeline therapist, as well as a musician for children. So I'm very interested in subconscious mind and programming and how it all works. But what we find, and I found this particularly useful, particularly with the anxiety, was that by bringing my thoughts out onto the page, it enabled me to see it more clearly. Because again, when you're in the washing machine, call it the washing machine of hell. Do you know when you get sucked into and you get sucked into the spin cycle, yeah. and you are you just one thought leads to another, and you start catastrophizing in your head, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And this is how anxiety works, do you know? And then before you know it, you're getting anxious about being anxious. But with journaling, what this does is it allows you to write down your feelings and your thoughts, and you can just free write and just write down how you're feeling. I choose to use journaling in a slightly different way. So when I do my journaling in the morning, I start with a gratitude practice. Now, this was inspired by a mindset mentor that I worked with by the name of Susie Ashworth. And it was when I was just looking, I used to run music sessions for children in a little village hall. And I was wanting to take them online in order to escape the physical location of where we were. And just get the courage to do that and get myself out of the fear and take that step. She had recommended that I did a gratitude practice. So she said to me, you need to do 30 things a day. And I was like, what? Like, first of all, that sounds like homework. Second of all, who's got time for that? But what I found was that when you start, it's so easy. Like, and it can be really simple. It's like, I'm really grateful that I have a lovely mug with some dogs on. And I'm really grateful that I have electricity to boil my kettle. And I'm really grateful to have the choice to be able to get up before my children. I'm really grateful that I have legs. There is so much to be grateful for. Like so much to be grateful for. So I do that first. I do 30 things that I'm grateful for. It all starts with my mum, and it always starts with me and my boys are safe and well. And then after that, it's just like my duvet, the fact that I'm still in bed. Which is another thing that I get really early in the morning. I like the fact that I wake up naturally as opposed to being woken up by children. It's a very different experience of waking up. But once I've done my 30 gratitude things, what I then do is I choose to focus my mind on what it is that I want. Because our minds are very, very powerful slaves, but they're horrific masters, right? So I read a book by Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer, who is I've read everything. It's really inspired my work. And he talks about focusing your mind on what it is that you want, because our thoughts are like energy forms. You know, where energy flows, where attention goes. Yes. Yeah. So if you are focusing your attention on things that haven't happened yet and catastrophizing, right, that's going to get bigger in your mind. What you focus on expands. So this is natural law, right? And when we're focusing on things in the past and we're going round and round in the washing machine over there, that's called depression, because that's ruminating, that's in the past. And when we're focusing on things in the future that haven't happened yet and we're like going round and round in the washing machine over here, that's called anxiety. But by focusing our mind, but forgetting, I think sometimes we forget we have a choice about what we think about.
Yeah.
Do you know, like we're in a boat in the stormy sea, but I think sometimes we're being tossed around and we're like blaming, and we forget we've got a rudder and some oars. We need to grab an oar, people, and start focusing your mind specifically on what it is that you want, because the more you focus on that then becomes your words. And I think Rumi said this, words become your thoughts, and thoughts become your plans, and plans become your behavior, and behavior becomes your reality. It's something like that. I could be, it's not exact. So what I would do after my gratitude practice, I would specifically write down how I wanted my life to be as though it had already happened. So I'd write it in the present tense, because the whole idea of being able to step into that reality for myself, it's about believing it. As Dr. Wayne Dyer says, you will see it when you believe it and not the other way around. Sometimes people are waiting to see a reality before they can believe it. And you have to actually believe it first. Self-belief is everything. And so in order to believe it, the way that I was writing it down was, I am the founder of this. I run an app. I was even writing about being a TEDx speaker. I was writing all the things that I wanted to be and wanted to do, but writing about them in the present tense, as though they'd already happened, with an elevated emotion of gratitude. Because when you supercharge a very strong intention with an elevated emotion, it almost makes you a magnet for the experiences. I'm going to get all woo and quantum physics here. I'm really sorry. But what I do, this is what I teach, so I kind of got to go there. You do become a magnet for the experiences, and the more I did it, and some people call it synchronicity, and some people call it miracles, or some people call it madness. But all I know is that I've done it and I've seen it work, and it is working. It is working, but it's really, really important that when you're writing in the present tense, it has to be believable for yourself, because if there's any kind of disconnect, you don't get that believability, that you don't truly believe it. So instead of writing I am a millionaire, because I don't believe that, you can say I am the kind of person who, which is a beautiful way of putting it. I am the kind of person who earns £1 million, because that is more believable than I'm a millionaire, because trust me, I am not a millionaire. So, but it has to be believable. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And what that does two things. First of all, it allows you to be able to read your thoughts back and go, oh, wow, I've got some really big dreams there going on. But I also think another thing that does is actually, by taking them out of your head and putting them onto the page, is a simple act of manifesting. It's taking something out of your head and making it real. So it's not a thought anymore. Now it's a word on a page. And that's the first step. And the word on the page, the more you write that, and the more, if you're writing the same kind of thing every day, you start to crystallize what it is that you want in your life. And it starts becoming so much easier to step into it, because it starts becoming real, because you're doing it every day, and you're making it real every day, and you're reading it every day. And it starts to be who you become naturally, and it starts making it easier. Not completely easy, because there's still fear. And fear is always the adversary. Notice the fear, choose to come from a place of love, and trust that you are supported, and take a step. And just one step. And the thing is, people who are who move forward in their lives, nobody is an overnight success, right? It's people who take incremental steps consistently. You know this, Jojo, right? On a daily basis towards their dreams and aspirations. But the first thing is working out what they are. You know, we've been given the most amazing opportunity, right? Everyone's having to, out of crisis always comes opportunity, right? So everyone's in turmoil right now, but what you have been given is the gift of time with your children. Sometimes that's a gift, sometimes. But it's going to help you grow. Do you know, if anything, it will help you grow, and it will force you to completely reassess your life. I'm in a situation where I might not even send my children back to school, because I always wanted to pull them out of school anyway, and this has just forced me a little bit. Do you know, it's giving people new ways of working. It's forcing people to reassess what they're doing for a living, because that might not be viable anymore. So you have an opportunity to completely redesign your life. You've been given a reset.
Yes. And I think, like you said, there's a choice. You can either panic and spiral into that anxiety, or you can grasp this by the ghoulies and see where it takes you. Because
what you focus on, and if you focus on the problem, that is what will give bigger in your mind. If you focus your mind on the solution, then that is what will get bigger in your mind, and that is what you will move towards. And ultimately, that's what we want for ourselves, for our kids.
Yes.
I want that for you, Jo.
I do for everybody.
Everybody share the love.
And she's off.
Sorry, I am like a lapdog on speed most of the time. This is me quite chill, so you know. How are you coping, Jo? Are you coping all right with the madness?
Yeah, it's been a bit weird here, because we had the shutdown like 3.5 weeks ago, and there was an initial little bit of panic, not to the same extent, because I think because of the big earthquake that we had a few years ago, people are a bit more chilled. I don't think chilled is the right, but yeah. So there wasn't so much of a panic, and yeah, it's weird at the moment, because the numbers in Japan they haven't shot up like everywhere else, but there's a lot of people not thinking the government are recording the numbers properly, or not testing properly, or just not telling us the truth, which is what happened with Fukushima. So I think there's a lot of
Doubt.
Yeah. And uncertainty of what is going to happen next. But now the Olympic Committee have decided that they're going to postpone the Olympics. I think we might see a shift. I think the Japanese government will maybe holding out there a little bit because
Yes, try not to panic everybody,
yeah.
right?
So yeah, we'll see what happens the next week.
I think that the uncertainty, I think this is the problem for most people, isn't it? It's that uncertainty.
Yeah.
And the one thing I would say, if this helps anybody, is that you cannot control other people.
Mm.
You know, like the only thing that you have control over right now is your internal state. You control you, make sure you and your family are safe. And if that means, you know, like I haven't even gone to the shop in a week, and we've still been told we can go to the shop, but I have a son with asthma, you know, who was struggling for breath and needed an ambulance only a couple of months ago. So before we even went to, I pulled my kids out of school a week early. I could see it was coming. I knew exactly what was happening. They were like, oh, we won't be closing schools yet. And then I saw Italy and I was like, everywhere else in the world is closing schools. And the minute they went, okay, we're shutting shops and restaurants and crowded places, and they didn't shut schools, I went, like, it's coming out. There's no way. How do you say no crowded places, but yes, send your child into a, like, where they're all kind of flicking bogies at each other and like licking handrails? I mean, like, why? Why would you do that?
Yeah, it was the opposite here. The schools shut down first, and then they started shutting other places down. So it was.
That's weird, because you shut down the schools and suddenly then you've got all these people that need to go somewhere.
Yeah. So, and then within a couple of days, it was, you know, like Disney and all the big places, they were getting shut down. But
yeah, because everyone just took the kids out of school and went, right, let's go to Disney.
Yeah. Well, and of course, here it's the end of the school year, so now it's actually spring break. So this is the time when people would be going to Disney and all that. So yeah, it's strange times.
It is, but you know what? I think it's just all about looking for the gift in everything. You know, I look back, and I'm sure if I invite you all to look back and think about some horrific stuff that has happened to you, you know, and 9 times out of 10, you don't want to change the thing, but you wouldn't change the lessons.
Yeah,
they brought. I genuinely think that the universe has an amazing way of working out for us. I believe that. And because I believe that, I think that's my experience, and that's because of perception and how you control your internal state. I believe that I'm supported, and I believe that things are going to work out for me in my best interest. And that helps a lot, because even when things don't go the way that I want them to do, I can go, it's okay. It's not worked out this way for a reason, because there will be a greater good for all somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's a very difficult time for people, but if you can come from that place, it will enable you to be able to handle the whole stresses the whole time. Because I wouldn't change, obviously I would want to bring back my brother, and I would want to bring back my dad, and I would want to, you know, still have a marriage, and if in an ideal world, and paint a picture and wanted it to be all rosy. That's not how it is. And ultimately I look back and go, do you know what, I don't want to change the things, but the person that I am now, because of those things, I'm grateful for the lessons. I'm not grateful for the thing, I'm grateful for the lessons. And if you can choose to find something to be grateful for, or find the gift in everything, then that enables you, that helps you feel inner strength, inner calm, inner peace, which right now we need some of that chiseling out, do you know?
Yeah, it's like the earthquake. So after the big earthquake, we went and shut down, but all the trains stopped running. You know, there wasn't the infrastructure. There were shortages in the supermarkets and that kind of thing. And of course the tsunami was just horrendous. And I found myself attached to Facebook and CNN and sucked into all the noise and the news, and I was spiraling, and I couldn't see it then. I didn't realize what I was doing then. Now, looking back, I felt it, you know, when everything started to kick off this time round, and I was I noticed, like you said, you become more aware of your emotions and things. And I was like, right, I've got to shut it down and walk away, because otherwise I'm going to end up spiraling again. And I don't want that. I learned the lesson last time. I'm not going to go down that route again. So,
and also you're focusing on the problem.
Yeah.
So if you're going to watch the news, and I think, in a situation like this where the situation is changing day by day, I think we do need to have a check-in. Let's not pretend that we live in a bubble here. Let's be realistic. But so what I do is that I check the news first thing in the morning. I check it in the morning, have a look, I see what the update is, and I do it in the morning for a reason, because if I do it at night, I want to know what the situation is, and give yourself like a 5 or 10 minute limit. Have a scout around, see what where we are, and then turn it off, and then choose to focus on. Because if the more you're focusing on that, then that's going to be your experience. You know.
And the less you're focusing on the kids.
Don't put the news on. The minute you do that, right, turn off the news, and once the news is over, put some tunes on, put some music on, right? Because music is one of the quickest ways to shift your music, and moving your body is the quickest way. So your physiological state is linked to your mental and emotional state. It's like a kind of triangle. And so one will always shift the other. So for example, if you have a positive thought, you get a positive feeling, and that actually has a physiological effect on your body. We all know this, proven in science, right? That the physiological effect of positive thinking has a direct effect on your cells. So it's good for the immune system to be happy, right? But also it works the other way. So if you are feeling like, the quickest way out of it is just to move, get out in nature, go for a run, or do, if you can't get out, put some tunes on and dance around in your living room, because just that, moving your body, will shift your mental and emotional state as well. Do you know?
Yes.
Rock out, people.
Yeah. Have a family disco.
Yeah. Family disco. Kitchen dancing. Kitchen dancing. In my head. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to have to wrap up, because I've got a podcast interview in a minute.
Okay.
So thank you for jumping on, and and we'll share this around.
Oh, before I go, can I tell people how to find me?
Of course, yes.
So we've talked a lot about thoughts and feelings today, but actually what I do is I write music to teach all this stuff to children and parents. So you can find me at lalatigers.com and Lala Tigers on Facebook and on Instagram. All this week I've been running just some music sessions of traditional stuff, just to give people something to do with their kids. So I'm running a free music session every day this week on my Facebook page. But then obviously my soul lies in teaching all this transformational and mind and emotional stuff to children through music. So, and there's lots of and fierce and bad wedding dancing and air guitar and mad stuff, as you can imagine, and hashtags and rock tracks and fun stuff. So come and find me and come and play. Thank you for having me, Jojo. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for coming, especially getting up ridiculously early.
I was up anyway. Right. Nice to see you. I hope you have an amazing day.
Yes, and you. Take care.